All right.
We'll be off El Sharpton. Where's El Sharpton?
4 and 7 were present to move the city forward. We were unable to establish a quorum. The clerk reached out to him. The clerk reached out to each absent council member to attend the meeting, but they have yet to respond. This behavior is not conducive to moving the city forward. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Councilperson Priestley.
It's unfortunate that my colleagues made the choice today to try to pretend like civility mattered. On October the 14th, we had an insurrection within our council chambers. For over 2 hours, we had unruly individuals who violated our disorderly conduct. The president of the Flint City Council refused to enforce. She refused to answer repeated claims for help. We asked for help from the police. We asked for help from whoever we could get. It got so bad to a point to where a resident had to pull out a gun to protect and defend herself and her mother. People were not protected in these chambers, and that is at the fault of the president and the vice president. My other colleagues asked for help and called, Madam Chair, Madam Chair. She refused to answer. No one should be coming to council chambers to be in fear of their lives, and that's what happened. They took over these chambers. Everyone saw it. There was a death threat on my life, and I take my life seriously. I filed a police report with the Flint Police Department. You can hear on one of the recordings where I called Chief Green saying, we need some help. You have a mess here. There's 9 to 12 people that are here. They have taken it over. They had to cut mics. They took over the lectern, podium, whichever word you choose. It was pure chaos, and it was dangerous. Before, in the first meeting in Special Affairs, I went and talked to the one officer that we had, and I told him, we're going to have some issues. You're going to need to call for help. We had a senior citizen, Gladys Williams, who was threatened and told her, B, I will beat your A, shut the F up. She was sitting right there in the front row. She feared for her life and got up. I called to order, point of order, and asked, at that time chairing the meeting was the Vice President, Candace Michat, to please warn her. Violence has no place in any public building, and that day was full of violence and rage. There was a conspiracy to incite a riot. Later, when I looked at video, it was disturbing. When the individuals, the 12 individuals, stated, Ladel and them are happy as H. I came there to get Tonya. I came there to get Tonya. The video is all over social media. I submitted it to the Flint Police Department. It is not required that we come and put our lives in danger, nor the public's life in danger, nor the city staffers and administrators. In this room that night, people were literally running for their lives. City staffers were running from the back of council chambers to the front. Emily Dorr, the CFO, the deputy CFO, and a senior citizen whose granddaughter was with her who could barely walk. These chambers were not safe. Everyone's seen how quickly people are removed from these chambers, like yesterday. For coughing, one person was warned and put out because she was not stationary with a sign. There's no such rule. They're making it up. It's not in our charter. It's not in the council rules. It's not in the Roberts rules. It's not. And let me address the attendance. My attendance is pretty damn good. My attendance is not a problem. But what I won't do for my family, I want to go home every night, like I want the residents to go home every night, and I want the police to go home every night. He was overwhelmed. He could not control the crowd. The Flint police could not control the crowd. Therefore, an all call had to go out. Check with 911. At 6:39, I called for help on my phone. It is a call to 911. There is no unexcused absence that if we're not here, they're just lying. They're lying. There's no if you're tardy, if you late. It is not required that we call in as council members. There's no such rule. And so when they peddle this misinformation, it separates our community. Now, I had a meeting with Ashley Capital, the gentleman Mark Quimby, on Friday for the first time. It was a great meeting. 5 hours, almost 5 hours. We're not disputing that moving the city business is important, but I don't want him in harm's way either. Everyone saw the videos. Now, why isn't the Flint Police Department investigating this conspiracy to incite a riot? Why have none of us been contacted by a detective? Nobody has. I'm not putting my life in harm's way, and I'm not putting the public's life in harm's way. These council chambers were not safe on October the 14th when a riot was incited. And the scary part was we could not get our council president to do anything. When you lose control over what's happening in our city, you want city business, treat everyone respectfully. That wasn't done. And to have a 65-year-old lady surrounded by 9 people, and the only way that her daughter felt that their lives were in imminent danger, that should have never happened. On the first part of our meeting during special affairs, I went and spoke to the officer. I knew at that time I was told, you're on a hit list. I did not leave. I'm licensed to carry, and I carry everywhere I go. I don't want anybody shooting at me, and I don't want them shooting at, and I don't want to have to shoot at them. Until these chambers and this is investigated, which I've asked the Department of Justice, I have requested from Chief Green to have this sent to the Michigan State Police so they can be investigated to where it's impartial. We cannot have like what we had on October the 14th. It's embarrassing. Business was not done then because the people who were in charge of the meetings allowed a riot to occur, and it didn't stop. The videos are alarming. Every news station picked them up. And it's unfortunate that my 2 colleagues decided to try to take a situation that could be so very dangerous and twist it to benefit as if 4 colleagues did not feel their lives were threatened. That shouldn't be happening. I have not been contacted by a detective or told it's being investigated. I have not. I will not come back to these chambers until they are investigating this case, that they can assure me that my safety is not in jeopardy. That night, I had to have a police officer take me home, follow me home. I've had threats before, but this is the first time that I have said, they told me, Ms. Burns, we're taking you home. It wasn't even a choice. City staffers heard these individuals state that they were going to get Tonya Burns, or we're going to get her. So when we talk about people's lives, I have not been offered a ride. They have not given me a safety plan. They have not said to me or my other colleagues who are on this hit list that we're going to make sure that you can come to and from council chambers safe, and that while you're here, you're going to be safe. No one told us that there was a safety plan put in place. They did not. So why would we come to put our lives back in danger when it be business as usual? And our last meeting, we had 1 officer and 12 individuals who, with a mob mentality, with a hit list, on social media, a video that they made stating that Ladel Lewis was happy. It was a sad moment for the city of Flint. It was sad. And I'm disappointed that in my colleagues who didn't even reach out to say, are you guys okay? Because I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And the public shouldn't. These chambers should be sacred and people should be safe. All evening, people were called retarded. They were called BITCHs, FU. Gladys Williams, a 70-year-old senior, was threatened, and not one person was warned and put out. Not one. That has never happened. That is unprecedented. Now, this is disappointing. How do we move forward? I don't know. We're going to move forward first with the public safety plan, which needs to be done. Making sure that council can come do our jobs and make sure we're safe. That's at the bare minimum, that we can be either transported, let us know that there will be X amount of officers. They need to do their jobs. And when you are chairing a meeting, it is your responsibility to put out those who are causing a disturbance. That wasn't done. Repeatedly, from Councilman Pfeiffer, from Councilman Jarrett, for Councilwoman Winfrey Carter, and for myself. Because there were different pockets. There was a pocket over here, there was a pocket over there, and there was a large pocket of unruly people over there. Nothing was done. And that should never happen. Now, however they choose to spin this, the truth is in the video. You can't change the video. You can't change the 911 calls. Check the 911 calls and see what people were saying and how many came in. One officer with a mob of 12, and none of them have been issued a warrant. Now, what we talk about on September the 23rd, they strengthened our disorderly conduct. Some of the things that they strengthened it, I felt it was subjective, and they voted. The 5 who normally voted together, I felt it needed some more work. One was Section A, disorderly conduct, person. Any person who does any of the following is guilty of a misdemeanor. Section 1, engages in any fight in a public place except for when or in a defense or self is of an individual. Number 3, conducts himself in any public place or joins with one or more persons in a public place, and he or she knows that singly or together with others from whom he has joined in unreasonably and obstructing the free and uninterrupted passage of the public or in the public. You couldn't get up and down our aisles. You see it. They took over the microphones. All this happened, and the president of Flint City Council said nothing. I can keep going. Number 4, persist in disturbing the public and peace and quiet by loud, aggressive conduct after having clearly been informed by the persons affected. They did nothing. They took over this microphone I'm speaking on right now. Number 5, persist in disturbing the peace and disorderly conduct. It was disturbed. We couldn't even conduct the meeting. At 6:28, I believe, the president of council had to hit the gavel to state that this meeting was over because there was no order. And I can keep going. Number 7, knowingly harass any person, which is defined. I gave each of you a copy of it. And then it goes on to the back. These are all instances that should be and are punishable by the law. These are just our ordinances. And then let's go to the state law. You cannot threaten an elected official. It's on video. When there is, I'm going to get Tonya Burns, I'm going to get Jerry Winfrey Carter, I'm going to get them. And then when we have a council member to gaslight a family who was grieving, that shouldn't have been done. And that family was grieving and their grief was taken advantage of. They strengthen this, it's going to be enforced, and until they enforce this disorderly conduct, I will not be here. My ward supports me in making sure I'm safe, that the community is safe, because I show up to do the work. I don't care how many hours that I have to put in. But the one thing they have assured me, my life should not be at stake for doing my elected duty. Thank you.
I've received threats. The council person that just finished speaking, she brought a stranger to my home. And this stranger, they had a restraining order against the Chicago police.
We were respectful of you. Please be respectful to you.
And as you all see, we let her speak and she continues to disrupt. That's not moving the business forward. That's not civility. Whenever you speak on the truth, we get interrupted. And so she brought this gentleman to my home. Okay, so.
I would like to respond to that. Can I have the lectern, please?
Well, no, time is of the essence, so what time is it?
2:30. Okay. So I do want to say this. I filed the police report. I did the work. I can only do so much, and so did my colleagues. I don't know if they're going to be giving statements or not, but the safety of all of them, and first the public. I knew after special affairs that there was a death threat. I did not leave because I wanted the public to be safe. I talked to the one officer and told him to get help. There were several calls that went out, even an all call. I was not contacted the clerk until after the meeting started. This should have been done before. I was not contacted. Made it very clear when I spoke to Chief Green. You can even hear on the video when I called him. I called him twice. He even stated the last time, well, I'm on my way. By then, there were officers flying across the front lawn of City Hall. And it was a scary situation. We were not contacted, and it's during the meeting. This should have been before to make sure. Now, yesterday, people were put out of this meeting, and they were put out of this meeting and no one was put out of the meeting on the 14th. You had 3 people that were put out and another 8 that were warned. Nothing happened with that meeting for over 2 hours. Over 2 hours, we were held hostage with this meeting. And that was a scary situation when I understood very clearly I was the #1 target of these individuals. And it was not of Beverly Biggs leaving. It was not. It was of the grieving family. I said nothing to incite them, to gaslight them, nothing at all. And as a matter of fact, there was a involved dads, which him and I was the last resolution we had been working on to give them $36,000 to make sure we could move those funds over. Now, yeah, I was, Judy. I went back and see, this is what I'm talking about. And I don't want to do the tit for tat, because what I'm saying is the truth will show you. And I worked with Emily Dorr on that, and I went and talked to the deputy CFO. Absolutely. So what I'm saying is our lives, if they want to protect the public, and this is the thing, in that stairwell was city staffers who were scared. Emily Dorr, the deputy CFO, the CFO, a senior citizen, her granddaughter. You're talking while I'm talking. That shouldn't have happened. And without a plan for the public to be safe, without a plan for the staff to be safe, and for the council members, we were not told of any of these things. We were called, but we're going to get a briefing during the meeting over a phone call? Why did they only give it to 4 people? We all should have been given this information, and it was not given. So I'm coming, I'll be back get a safety plan. I want my case to be investigated. It has not been given to a detective, because that elected officials, it's against the law to be threatened your life, period.
What would make you feel safe enough to return back to council?
Number one, the case needs to be investigated. See, I'm not here for this. I don't have to like you to do the work. I show up to do the work. My part is, number one, have a safety plan. The people in yesterday's meeting, when I watched it this morning, and by the way, I have a mother who has had 4 strokes. The clerk knows that often if I can't make it, she has 4 strokes, cancer, and cannot walk right now. That's where I was at. I'm not gonna risk my life, and I have an ailing mother. I'm not gonna do that. What will make me feel safe? Number one, investigate. I want the Michigan State Police or the Sheriff's Department to take this case. I want them to issue warrants for the 12 individuals who incited a riot. It was a conspiracy to incite a riot. The troubling part was those individuals kept just talking, and you'll see on the video, with the president of the Flint City Council. That was disturbing. I wanted to be investigated. I wanted to make sure that my colleagues and myself, if she's threatened, let her get a ride. Make sure that all of our lives to and from and during council chambers is safe, so we can do the business. You cannot do the business if you are threatened, and I felt my life was threatened, and so did the other colleagues. That needs to be done. Then we need to make sure we treat every individual that coughs, talks loud, talks out, that they're put out. Those 12 people talked out all through the meeting. They were never warned. What happened was the president and the vice president failed to enforce the disorderly conduct that was passed on September the 23rd. That's about 11 or 12 offenses in there. It was not enforced. They refused to enforce it because there was a conspiracy to incite a riot. That is the truth.
And you know what, this is getting into too personal. This is supposed to be about the business of the city.
Well, I do want to answer the question
Yep,
in
we're gonna
regards
wrap it
to,
And
when they're done,
so-
I'm going to finish.
and so
what
we
I do
called
want to
it-
say is,
and so we
will I
called the-
work with, number one, will
Again, a disrespect for leadership.
I'll wait till
Just
she's
like
done.
she
She's not
didn't,
allowing
just
me
like
to
she did
speak.
not make the meeting.
She's not allowing me
Just
to
like she
speak.
did not make the meeting, Councilwoman Priestley and I called for this press conference. And so we just want to know, is there any other questions that you all may have for us as we depart? Because I have to go and get my son.
Well, you can leave, but I need to
Again,
when you leave.
here, thank you.
Next meeting is the 29th?
October the 29th at 5 o'clock. And hopefully we will have, not hopefully, we shall have a safety plan in place. And hopefully we have colleagues that have the political wherewithal to come so we can elect someone to represent the 3rd Ward. Mr. Farnes? All right, thank you.
Okay, so I do want to say, because of your question, this is why, and I want people to hear this.
What y'all think Ladel don't think?
Man, Ladel no happy as hell.
Happy about what?
But they went off. They wanted us to talk. Yeah. They wanted me to talk. Ladel don't want me to talk.
What they want you to say?
Whatever I was gonna say. They ain't want me to say nothing. They wanted me to say They knew I was coming for her. They knew I was going for her. And they knew I was going for Tonya. I wanted to continue. The other bitch that was it. Yeah, we shut it down. Ain't gonna look. One of the dudes in the chair was gonna look, and we was.
So this was after the meeting. They went home to record this, and you hear them say my name. You hear them who was happy. They recorded themselves on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. It is my goal every meeting to work and to do the work. And I do the work. I show up, but not at the risk of my life. I'm not doing that. When they failed to enforce the disorderly conduct, and they did, all the sections that I gave you, it was dangerous for the public, for the residents who came to discuss their issues. It was dangerous for the city staff who sought shelter out the back door, the emergency exit. It was dangerous for our colleagues. Only people who did not move out their seats were the 4 who knew this was going to happen. This is a conspiracy to incite a riot. You heard it. The people that stated Ladel and them were happy went home and made a video and put it on social media. This needs to be investigated. You cannot threaten an elected official. And especially, they're saying an elected official was the one who conspired with them to incite a riot. There has to be a public safety plan, and there has to be accountability for those. Look at, we have another back there. They're back there, saying stuff. And how do we move Flint forward? One, you don't have to like someone to do your job. You don't. But what we have to do is do the business of the city. We should not have been, today, during this press conference, is when we were told that the clerk was calling to tell us about a public safety plan. That's just not true. If not, I got a bridge to sell you. That should have been done beforehand. Bullets don't have names. They don't. And this event was chaotic and it was dangerous. Calling us at 6 o'clock when the meeting was scheduled at 5 to state, well, hey, I want to tell you about this safety plan. That's not even, it's not real. And it's a soundbite. I wish that this conference that they called would have been called to say, we got to fix this. We have to come together as a city. We have to make sure that those people who come to speak to us, and we've all been called derogatory names and went through something, but the thing is, we're here to work to fix the problems. I don't want to risk the public. I stood next to a lady in that stairwell who couldn't walk, had a walker, 86 years old. We failed the residents. We have a disorderly conduct, and it's a very strong disorderly conduct. Ladel Lewis failed to enforce it. She failed to enforce the disorderly conduct. She failed the residents, she failed the city staff, she failed her workers. She failed us. She failed us. And that should have never happened. It was dangerous. And those individuals, and let's go back to protocol. When you have a situation like that, each person, no, that's fine. Each person a statement should have been taken. No statements were taken that evening from the people who were in here. And their statements should have been taken before they left. They should have been named, they should have been detained, and some should have been arrested. We've seen people get arrested. That night of the City Council insurrection, there were no arrests, There were no statements taken during this meeting. People were allowed to leave except for the one person who had to defend herself because of a threat, an imminent threat of her life. Protocols were not followed, and that's what we ended up with, was something that was dangerous.